Hello and welcome to my channel. So a lot of people have requested this tutorial. This is a complete beginner's tutorial and it will show you how to set up your own Visual Studio project and create an interaction. So here I have opened the wiki based tutorials on the Mod the Sims website, and we're just going to follow these tutorials to set up our project. So the first tutorial we'll be looking at is the creating a game compatible Visual Studio project. So here, step 1, create a new project, and that's what we're going to do. So open Visual Studio, and I'm using Visual Studio 2015. I'm not sure if the later versions work or not, but I think I've seen someone use Visual Studio 2017. So I can't say for sure if the future versions work correctly or not. So anyways, yeah, so we're in Visual Studio here and we're going to create a new project. So click on this new project button underneath this start, and this new project window has opened up, and from here we're going to select from templates. Make sure you have Visual C# selected, and then here pick class library. This is what creates our DLL file, our C# class library. And make sure .NET Framework 2.0 is selected at the top left, and in the name section make sure you have a unique name. So I will pick Pudding Face Beginners Tutorial. Okay, and now our project is created. So now let's move on to step 2. So in step 2 we have to remove all existing references. So select Solution Explorer, and here you can see the references, and inside in this references delete these 3 files: system data and system.xml file. Now let's come to step 3, and step 3 is about not referencing the Mscoldlip.dll, and because we are using Visual Studio 2015 we are going to skip this step. If you are using Visual Studio 2012 or after, then this step you have to skip for now, and then we will come back to this later. And now let's come to step 4, and in step 4 we have to add our DLL files, basically the libraries of Sims 3, and these we are going to extract from where our game is installed. So we are going to Electronic Arts, Sims 3 or The Sims 3, then Game, and then Bin, and here we can see 3 package files: gameplay.package, scripts.package, and simcore.package. and inside these package files is where our DLL files are located. So we are going to open these files using S3PE, and then we are going to individually export the DLLs to a folder that we are going to use. And this is how you export it. You right click and then pick export DLL. Now because I have already exported them, I'm not going to show you the exporting process since I've already done that. And by the way, there is also another option you can use. Instead of exporting these DLL files, you can download an edited version of these files from the link I will give in the description. So these are the NRAS DLLs, the NRAS unprotected DLLs, which are used for making the NRAS mods, and I suggest using them. I use them myself. The NRAS DLLs make some of the classes unprotected, so it will give you more access than the normal DLLs. And once you are done exporting or downloading from the NRAS GitHub, then let's come back to our project and import these DLLs. So go to references and right click, and from the menu pick add references. So here this new menu pops up, and so because I already use these DLLs in my projects, so they are already showing up. So I'm just going to select them and OK. And notice how Mscoldlip.dll is missing. That's because we are not going to add them here. We have to do that later. So the DLLs that we are adding are Sims Tree Gameplay Systems, Sims Tree Store Object, System, Sims Tree Metadata, System.xml, Script Core, Sims Tree Gameplay Objects, Sim iFace, and UI, but no Mscoldlip. In the tutorial it says Mscoldlip, but because we are using Visual Studio 2015, so basically Visual Studio 2012 and above, we are not going to add Mscoldlip here. And if you are making a project for the first time, these DLLs are not going to automatically show up, so you have to browse for them. So again, I'm clicking add references, and here you can see the browse option. If you click it, and you can browse where you exported these DLLs, and then you can use them. And now step 5, set references to not copy local. Okay, so now control click all of these DLLs and go to properties, and here you can see the copy local option, and set this to false. And now let's come to step 6. So this is the extra step for Visual Studio 2012 and above. So save and close your Visual Studio project and go to where you have created your folder. So in my case, it's in Documents, Visual Studio 2015, Projects, and then Pudding Face Beginners Tutorial, and then again Pudding Face Beginners Tutorial. And here you can see the Pudding Face Beginners Tutorial.cs proj, and we are going to open this file with Notepad++. Now in this file, go to the last / property group and the first item group, and this is where our Mscoldlip is going to go, between these two. Now you can copy this section from the tutorial and paste it here, but since I've already done this before, so I'm just going to open my enhanced fairies CS proj, and from here I will copy this part and then paste it in my beginner's tutorial. And here in the name we are writing Mscoldlip, and in the hint path it's where our Mscoldlip is located. So in my case it's F drive Sims3 mods, Sims3 DLL files for modding, and then the Mscoldlip.dll. The name is slightly different with the NRAS DLLs, but it's the same file. And private false. Okay, and now our Mscoldlip is imported, and save the project and close. Now open Visual Studio again and open our project. Now there is another final step to get our project working, and that is our CPU settings. So go here where any CPU is written and click on Configuration Manager, and here this new dialog box opens up, and in this dialog box where any CPU is shown, click on this and select New, and here change this to x86, meaning 32-bit processors, because Sims3 is a 32-bit game, and copy settings from any CPU and click on OK, and then close this. And now finally our Visual Studio project is done. And now let's move on to the second tutorial. The second tutorial is Sims3 pure script modding, and here you can see the first part of this tutorial is the same as the one before. but we are going to start from the additional preparations in Visual Studio part. Now in our project we are going to open assemblyinfo.cs, and here we have to add using simstree.simiface and assembly tunable. Using simstree.simiface is with the using statements and the assembly with the assembly statements. Assembly with the assembly statements. And for some projects we also have to add assembly persistable static, and this is for when you want something to stay the same in a saved game, so you want the value to persist. So this was used in my enhanced vampires mod because these settings in my menu had to stay the same, otherwise the menu setting will get reset every time you reload this save. So persistable static makes sure that your value persists. We don't really need this in this project, but I'm still adding it to show you. And now finally our Visual Studio project is made, and from here you can simply start the custom interaction tutorial part 1 to start making your first mod. But I'm going to cover that again in this tutorial, but because I have already done that in the custom interaction tutorial part 1, so I'm not going to cover it in detail. If you want more detailed explanation, I suggest watching that tutorial. So okay, let's make an interaction and see if it appears in game, and that will definitely confirm that our mod is working. So now come to the third tutorial, adding pie menu options. And so here I'm going to copy the using in this tutorial, and I'm going to change the class name here. And also copy this k instantiator. Next we copy the demo class constructor So for those who are using the NRAS DLLs, you will get an error because the NRAS DLLs have made the world.onWorld load not usable, and that is a good thing because using world.sonWorld is better. It's more safe to use sonWorld. The DLL that I am using is the NRAS DLL, and then I have further modified it, so that's why I'm still able to use the regular on world load. but I recommend using S on world load instead. And now let's copy the on world load finished handler and then the add interactions method. And now finally we're going to copy the interaction itself. And I'm getting a few errors because in the DLL that I am using, these methods are changed into public in the main file. So if I'm inheriting from a public, I cannot change that to protected. I have to keep that as public. So instead of protected override bool, it's going to be public override bool, and here instead of protected override string, it's going to be public, and same for the protected override bool. And I will also change the interaction class and definition class to public. And in the get interaction name method, let's rename our interaction so that we can easily identify it in the game. So I'm going to rename it beginners tutorial interaction test. And now let's build. So build gives us our DLL file, and we are going to import this DLL file into an S3PE package, which will be our mod. So open S3PE, click on new, and then go to resources, and we are going to create an XML file. Make sure that you pick XML 0x0333406C, and in the name select the namespace name. So in my case, pudding face beginners tutorial, and then dot or period class name, which is demo class. You will use your own namespace and class name with whatever that is in your project, and click the FNV64 button, and in the group add 0. Now click OK. So our XML file is done. Now right click and select edit in Notepad. And now I'm going to copy this section of the XML code, this part that pertains to the key instantiator bool, and then save and close. And so our XML file is done. And now let's make our s3sa file, which will be our script file, and that is where the DLL that we just built will go. But first, let's save our project. So I'm going to name our project beginners tutorial.package. Now again go to resource and this time select S3SA. And in the group again put 0, and in the name can be anything you want, but it has to be unique. The name shouldn't match any of the EA DLL files or any other mods DLL files. So it's better to name it the same as the XML, but the name of the S3SA file doesn't actually have to be the same as the XML file. So you don't actually need your namespace or class names in the script file, but it does make it easier and it makes it more likely to be unique. I am going to name this pudding face beginner tutorial script and then FNV64 and then OK. So we now have an empty S3SA file, and we are now going to import this DLL. So right click and select import DLL, and now we are going to browse and look for our DLL. So our DLL is inside our project folder. So documents, Visual Studio 2015, projects, and pudding face beginners tutorial, and then again pudding face beginners tutorial, bin, and then x86, and then the debug folder. And this is where our DLL file is located. So select this file and click OK. And so our DLL file is imported. Now save our project and close. And now let's start our game. Oh, but wait, before we do that, come to the Documents, Electronic Arts, Sims Tree folder and delete these cache files, the CAS part cache, compositor cache, basically all the cache files that you delete before installing a new mod. You have to do that for your own mod as well. Otherwise, your mod may not work properly or just not work at all. You have to do this step every time you install a new mod or update an existing mod. Oh, and I forgot to mention this before, but when you created your S3PE package, the package has to be inside Documents, Electronic Arts, the Sims tree, mods, packages, and here the package has to be in here, the same as when you install a mod. That's where your own mod will also go. You can create subfolders inside the packages, but don't create subfolders inside subfolders because those may not get read. And now finally let's launch our game and see if our mod works. And we are in game, and here we can see our interaction that we made, the beginners tutorial. and if we click it, the same thing happens as in the tutorial. The Sim's name has clicked on Sim's name appears, the notification, because we are clicking on our own sim. The two Sims names are the same. Now if you want more details about interactions and how this interaction was made, go to the custom interaction tutorial part 1, and that tutorial series will also show you how to make better, more detailed interactions. And that concludes this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.